Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're talking about ancient Greece.
That's sort of right, Johnny. We are talking about Athens, although it's more Athens, Tennessee than
No,
Athens, Greece.
Wait, Athens, Tennessee.
Yeah, apparently it was in
Okay,
Athens,
so
Tennessee. And you
so
wouldn't
not
have known about
ancient
it.
either. Not
No,
Greece
it's not ancient.
or ancient. Okay.
No, more mid-American history. But what we are talking about is a time that a bunch of returning U.S. GIs from World War II discovered that their government was being ran by an oligarchy, and they didn't like it, and they fought back using military force to take over a city. So we're talking about the Battle of Athens. Yeah, well, they did. Johnny, this is a very entertaining story, and get with it, because this is like something that you think would happen like recently in like the January 6th like Trumpism kind of thing, but no, this is like pre all that with probably what's the most.
Did it work? I guess we'll find out.
We can't spoil it, Johnny. Just let's go. We'll get into it. So it's back in 1940s, Johnny. It's McMinn County, Tennessee. There was an E.H. Crump political machine that has taken over pretty much the entire state of Tennessee, running everything through their oligarchy. And much like modern politics, once you get the money, you can control whatever you want, get whoever you want elected, and yeah, there's like no stopping it, no going back. In 1936, this political group puts up a Democrat candidate named Paul Cantrell for sheriff. Cantrell is going to link himself to Teddy Roosevelt and does this like, I'm a distant relative and he once shook my granddaddy's hand and so you should vote for me because relative, Teddy Roosevelt was... Well, he's like a distant relative, but like not... It's not like...
Oh, he actually is? I was going to say, because that's something that's
but he shouldn't
verifiable.
He shouldn't be really like... trying to link himself, and this is like third cousins twice removed bullshit, you know.
Right, yeah, this is somebody who has a famous basketball player who, you know, they saw once when they were 6 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But in 1936, he does get elected in what's known as the vote grab, because there's already in his first election some questionable election practices, including potential voter intimidation that would go into question.
There were voter intimidation laws at that point?
Yeah. There's you can't go around and like threaten people like that all came out of Reconstructionism when they started to try to threaten those free men of color from voting.
They were soft back in the 40s. I feel like you should be able to intimidate people.
Right? He's going to go on and win again in 1938. Men were men,
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and back when men were men. He's going to win again in 1938, 1940, 1942, and in 44, he's going to win the state Senate seat, having his sheriff seat replaced by one of his deputies named Mansfield. Meanwhile, everyone, like I said, is already suspicious because in best case scenario, these aren't fair elections due to financial influence, because none other candidate that can run is going to be able to put up the money to be able to campaign the way that he is. That's the best case scenario. And the worst case scenario is flat out fraud, because...
Oh. Well, that was a problem. The first one, I don't know, do some fundraising or get rich. I don't know. That's typical American politics. That second one's an issue, though, that if that's accurate, if there's real...
The oligarchy, the Crump oligarchy here, Johnny, they're going to use its money to influence several laws, including reducing the number of voter precincts. So, kind of sounds familiar to what we're trying to do today.
We've been there. Yeah.
Worse access to voting. They're also going to reduce the number of justices of the peace from 14 to 7, which coincidentally gave them the majority of justices of the peace.
That's
in
weird.
That restructuring.
I wonder, that's odd. I wonder, why that's just a coincidence. The restructuring was necessary in any case. This was just
the coincidence they happenstance that they get to keep the most. And if all that wasn't bad enough, Johnny, the sheriff's department was paid by a fee system where they got more money for the more people that they ticketed, booked, and released, leading to tourist buses being pulled over and everyone getting tickets for public intoxication, whether anybody was or wasn't. Like all kinds of bullshit citations were being handed out because every citation that got handed out, that sheriff's department made more money. Yeah. So Cantrell made more money. And he really liked targeting out-of-towners, because like how are they gonna you're not gonna fight this shit. You're not gonna come back to court.
No, you're gonna pay you pay your fine and then you move on. It's my wife got a ticket in Detroit and they spelled her, or had her birthday wrong, and they had the color of her vehicle wrong on the ticket. But yeah, we're not gonna go back up to Detroit to fight that. Like,
where you will subsequently get another ticket because they'll be like, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize you.
Between 1936 and 1946, those fees actually racked up over $300,000 for the sheriff's department, which is $6.5 million today, which is not a small chunk of change. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good bonus.
Department? Yeah.
Because that's a bonus. That's a bonus that they're getting. Like, that's not their only pay. That's a bonus for them.
Not bad.
Now, during all these elections, there were claims that Crump, oligarchy, and Cantrell were engaging in election fraud through voter intimidation and allowing ineligible people to vote, including dead people. There were ballots found with dead people's names on them.
This is just your run-of-the-mill voter fraud business stuff. You know, all the usual suspects here with the voter fraud.
And this isn't conspiracy because the Department of Justice did, in fact, investigate in 1940, 1942, and 1944, finding that, yes, there was, in fact, voter intimidation and fraud, but did nothing to overturn. They're like, it happened, but, like, the other guy wouldn't have won anyway, so it's fine. It's fine.
All right. That's... Seems like a immeasurable thing, an odd claim to make, but okay.
And when the county, Johnny, is allowing gambling, bootlegging for prominent city officials, a lot of money is being greased in those wheels by all this illegal activity that the county's looking. The sheriff's department, they're looking the other way. Hey, they're getting their money. They're getting their wheels greased, and the county officials are getting their wheels greased. So everybody's happy. It's a win-win, except for the civilian population in that
is
city.
That who's getting hosed?
Yeah, they're not getting
taxpayers who are paying for all of this bullshit. They're upset.
And if things weren't bad enough, there are actually ex-convicts that are operating as deputies during this time period. People who have
no
legal right to own a firearm are being police officers. So
not
let that one sink in.
It's just proof that our correction facilities work. Rehab, it works.
Sure.
They're rehabilitated back into society.
It's just all perfect. And everywhere you turned from any kind of government position, it's actually controlled by the Crump oligarchy and Cantrell's men. Even the school board, Johnny, and newspapers were controlled.
Oh, of course,
by this oligarchy, making it the official.
Well, you have to control the news.
Yep.
I mean,
and funnily, Johnny, the newspapers were full of anti-GI Bill propaganda. So all these GIs that are coming back, they're like, "Hey, maybe we should get some kind of compensation for fucking dying, getting all kinds of PTSD." Nope, not these newspapers. These newspapers like, "What have you done?" Quote. This is a quote from one of the newspapers. "What have you done for us?" I believe they just killed a bunch of Nazis for you. But whatever. What? Neither here nor there, right?
That's.
Yep. Now, since the war is coming to an end here in 1945, you got more and more GIs that are coming home. And as more and more GIs are coming home, they're looking around at the political situation, the political landscape, going, we don't really like this. And in fact, in 1945, two soldiers that came back on leave before they were actually officially, the war was officially over and they were allowed to come home, got arrested by Cantrell's men because they were starting to question things they shouldn't be questioning. So in 1946,
little Lincoln-y here.
Lincoln-y here. And so in 1946, when all the men come home, it's actually, I believe it's 10% of the entire voting population of that county was GIs that came home from war. So now that they're home from war,
that's a good chunk.
There's a political swing that could potentially happen. It takes the GIs all of 2 seconds to form a nonpartisan political committee to go after the oligarchy. And like I said, instantly, Cantrell's men doesn't like that and starts fucking arresting them, beating them up, doing all kinds of things that you would expect them, in fact, to do.
Mobster type shit. Like, he's a mobster.
Yeah, he's just a flat-out gangster, mobster, all kinds of good gloriousness. So with this new political party, formed here, Johnny, well, not a political party, but a political action campaign committee thing. It's nonpartisan. Nonpartisan. You could be Republican, you could be Democrat, you could be whatever. Yeah. They just want anybody. Essentially, their campaign slogan is anybody but Cantrell. And so the GIs, they're going to put up Knox Henry, who's a North African campaign veteran, to run for sheriff against Cantrell with large donations from the community and a newly returned 3,000 GIs, 10% of the voting population. It now seems like a pretty big lock that Knox is going to get it. Now, at this point, Cantrell is actually running for sheriff and not for Senate again, and they're kind of Mansfield and him are switching places because he feels that he has a better opportunity to win than Mansfield does. So Mansfield's running for Senate, Cantrell's now running for sheriff again. Also, Cantrell's a little bit more gangstery, known for hardlining approach, so that might be part of it as well. Yeah. The slogans for the GIs was "Your vote will count. We ensure that your vote will count."
Oh, that's good.
So, they're going after campaign fraud here. And to counter Cantrell's men's intimidation, they basically get a bunch of rowdy or GIs. So think of your, Marine Corps guys. We all worked with those guys that are, borderline, should you be out in public or not? Well, he gets those guys to be his protection wing. So anybody who's attempted to get intimidated or into not voting, there's these big, mean, scary GIs that are next to him that says, "Oh, you really sure you want to intimidate this guy? He can go ahead and vote."
Oh, so it's like when Hell's Angels goes to the courthouse or whatever for the kids,
the
abuse victims. It's just giving them some sense of security.
Sense of security, yep. So Cantrell's going to respond by hiring an additional 200 deputies from other counties and other states at the cost of $50 a day, which is over $700 a day in today's money, which is weird, and I wonder where they're able to afford this.
Well, I mean, they got plenty of bonuses.
He's also hiring people who have no legal jurisdiction to operate in that county, and people from other states to come in. And
he's hiring a militia, right?
He's hiring a militia.
Essentially what he's doing. Exactly what he does. He's hiring his own little army like they did. Okay.
And Johnny, the election day comes and all hell breaks loose. And I mean all hell breaks loose. In Etowah County, a GI asked for a ballot box to be opened to prove it was empty. As is his legal right, as is legally allowed, as is what legally should be done before, at the start of the election.
Yeah,
this is back in the old days when we had actual
in there.
Legit paper where people were counting. It's not ticket punch machines. Open it. And they said, no, we're not going to open it. And when he goes, no, you legally, this has to be opened, he gets arrested.
Shaking a little bit.
Yeah, that just gets arrested, sent to jail for disorderly conduct, and that is before the election actually even officially begins. Weird.
Right, because
at the same time that this is happening, over in Athens, around 3 p.m. in Athens, a patrolman whose name is Wise is going to prevent an elderly African-American named Gillespie from voting. And when Gillespie and a GI protest Wise and say, no, he's allowed to vote. He's not a felon. There's no law against him voting. He's registered. He's on the registry. He's allowed to vote. Wise, the officer, strikes Gillespie in the back with a baton, and then when he's on the ground, pulls out his service revolver and shoots him in the back.
That's murder. Did he kill?
He doesn't die though. Doesn't die.
Attempted
severely
murder.
Wounded. Yes, this is definitely attempted murder. At this point, in response to a clearly rigged election, the GIs go to their campaign office, or where Jim Buttram, who's the campaign manager, he contacts the governor in Tennessee and the U.S. Attorney General asking for support for a fair election because we literally just had a guy shot trying to vote. This is out of hand.
Tell me that's not intimidation.
Yeah, that's definitely clear intimidation. They get no response from the governor or the U.S. Attorney's office. The Sheriff Mansfield then sends his deputies to every... Yeah, they're just busy. Sheriff Mansfield is going to send his deputies to every polling station to prevent GIs from entering. So the response to GIs is hey, you guys remember, did any of you keep your service weapons when you came home from war? Oh, we did. So why don't we go home and get those? And go to the voting stations. Which they do.
And then they were allowed to vote, I'm sure.
They begin to arm themselves, and they start gathering at a Sankei garage, and Mansfield's going to send 2 deputies to go arrest everybody who's gathered at the garage because they are an armed mob, but he only sends 2 to, like, 50 armed GIs.
To an armed mob?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 50 monkeys. Like, if they have,
you need more than 2
armed, you send more than 2.
Well, those 2 cops get held captive. Yeah, they get their guns taken away from them and held captive.
Do they?
2 against
That's
way too many.
shocking.
Yeah, it's odd, shocking. They send an additional set of reinforcements, 5 more guys to go out there. At which point they also get their guns taken from them and captured. The party chairman the Republican Party chairman asked the GIs in an interview with them, while this is all going on, what are you going to do with the police? Their response is, I don't know, Otto. Maybe we're just going to kill them.
They're doing intimidation the right way, because
instead they're going to take the 7 captured.
If I were one of these brought-in militia police officers and I saw this shit going on, I'd say screw it to my $50.
Screw it, I'm going home.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Instead, they're going to take the 7 captured deputies. They're going to strip them naked, tie them to a tree, and then beat them in public, which is taking tar and feathering to a whole new level here.
Why naked? Like, why
I don't know.
Nudity?
Because they're GIs, man. There's some homoerotic stuff going on. They all kind of fell into some old patterns there, I guess. In the 12th precinct voting center, Johnny, a clearly underage girl is going to attempt to vote for Sheriff Cantrell. When the GIs look at that and go, dude, she's 12. She's not on the registry. I'm not going to allow you to let her vote because that's illegal. She can't vote. They arrest the GI, take the ballot box to the jail precinct, where now those ballots should really be thrown out because it's left the voting place. There's no chain of command anymore. Anybody can put whatever they want in those ballot boxes, and then that's not good. As the polls close, Johnny, there are 3 ballot boxes in total that have been taken to jail for safekeeping. The votes do begin getting counted, and as the votes are getting counted, Knox is actually up 3-1, and only the jail ballots remain at the end of the day.
Oh no! I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah, so the GIs go, there's some fuckery going on. We need to get into the jail to get those ballots. So they have a bunch of combat veterans versus a bunch of police thugs, and they decide we're going to assault the jail and use their military tactics to assault said jail. And you can imagine how this is going to go with actual military combat vets versus a bunch of wannabe.
The combat vets were immediately apprehended by our highly skilled and trained police.
Yeah, something like that. So at 9 p.m., Mansfield and Woods are in the jail, rummaging through the ballot boxes, when they decide that since they are a majority of the election committee, they can actually certify these votes. Those 2 guys can certify these votes. And this leads to an assault on the jail by the GIs, and reports vary between 60 men to 2,000 men were involved in this. It's probably like 100 dudes in total,
what's the number?
Anywhere between 60 to 2,000. The newspaper reports are all over the place in all of this.
That's a huge gap.
Do know for a fact that GI Bill White commanded 60 men. So we're going to go ahead and say that there was at least 61 because Bill White and his 60 men, we know that for a fact these guys were on the scene. He's going to split his forces with a Buck Landers, who's going to take up positions at the bank overlooking the jail. So we've got our, flanking, overlooking, covering fire, and then we're going to assault from the front. Standard military practice here. The GIs go to the jail. They're going to demand the ballot boxes. They're going to be refused, and then once they are refused, they're going to immediately open up with automatic fire. Like they're taking all the fucking guns and they're unloading on the jail. And while I might say, who shot first? The cops or the GIs? White actually admitted, like, it was us. He's like, I fired the first shot. He was, like, proud of it. He goes, they said no, and I said, to hell with you! All that war.
I wonder if war did anything to these boys who came back.
Maybe not. The firefight, Johnny, is going to last 7 hours with police surrendering at 3:30 a.m. after the GIs began using dynamite and blowing up squad cars and shit. They started off with Molotov cocktails. That wasn't good enough, so then got sticks of dynamite, and they're just literally hurling sticks of dynamites at the precinct. before the cops inside are like, all right, we're done. This is
all right.
This
Yeah,
is over.
no, before they had all peed their pants and shit themselves because they've never seen anything like that, and these kids just came from that. This was a couple months ago.
By morning, the GIs were in control of the jail and found the ballot boxes, and they began tallying up the ballot boxes themselves. Which, surprisingly, in these ballot boxes, Cantrell is getting 15-1 votes. Weird.
Wow.
I wonder how that's happening.
Quite the
different spread here. Yeah.
It must just be the localized voters. All of his
just all of them. One specific location. Yeah. And while all this is going on, the whole gunfire, the whole city's actually in riot with police specifically being targeted because these are all out of town police officers, or most of them are out of town police officers. It's not a good look. The governor is initially, while all this is going on, he's going to initially order the National Guard to Athens, but then he's going to rescind that order, realizing that I'm probably just going to get the GIs more reinforcements because I'm going to send GIs to go get the G. It's not going to work out well, so he just rescinds that order.
Guess who's not going to shoot their fellow soldiers?
Yeah, they're not going to do it. And in the morning, somehow, Johnny, nobody died. Lots of injuries. Nobody fucking died. No police are going to be around in the morning anywhere around the city, so the GIs open up their own little special committee where, even with the clearly faked ballots, Knox is going to win, hands down. Even with all the fake ballots that are counted, Knox wins. So the election is going to eventually be certified that following Monday. The GIs, who are in control of the whole city at this point, on that Monday when the election is certified, they're going to relinquish control of the city back to city officials and say, hey, it's fine. Or the county. Let me phrase that. They release the county back. But the city themselves, they say, we're staying in the city until Knox is, put in as the sheriff a month later. Yeah, so they give the county back, but they keep control of the city until Knox is officially put in command. The aftermath report,
Johnny? What is that? Nobody knew, and nobody just living in the city knew any of this was going on. Right?
Yeah, nobody at this point. After the first day of. Yeah,
none of it actually mattered. Okay.
Like I said, casualty report, no casualties to speak of other than a bunch of people wounded. Nobody actually winds up dying. The recovered ballots were all certified, and it does show that the 5 GI candidates that were up for different positions, they all won. Even with the fake ballots, still won. Didn't matter. So all that protesting and fighting and gunfights was for nothing because they still would have won. Yeah. Whether they happened or didn't happen.
No, I couldn't know because they still would have, found another way to win. But
they lied, yeah.
But you said what they were 10% of the voting of the eligible 10%
of the voting population. Yeah.
Which
immediately
of
after
the voting population, it's 50% that votes, and I'm guessing the GIs turned up in way higher numbers than
I'm guessing
demographics or whatever.
And we'll say how that turned out, because immediately after the election, $5,000 max cap was put on all officials, and multiple gambling houses from Cantrell were raided. So they shut down all these bootlegging gambling houses that were all run by the mob, basically. Knox, he's going to get 2,175 votes to Cantrell's 1,270. Keep in mind, it was 3,000 GIs that came home, so not even all the GIs showed up to vote. That tells you how bad American politics is. We just, fuck it.
Their vote doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Athens mayor and 4 other officials are going to resign quickly after this because it becomes clear that, they were taking bribes and were also a part of this shenaniganry of corruption, so they all stepped down. And believe it or not, the only person in this entire thing that's going to be charged with anything is Officer Wise for shooting an unarmed man in the back, attempted murder, and he's going to get 3 years and only serve 1.
Wow, they really came down hard on cops back in the day.
Yeah, they did. A lot harder than he did serve a year in jail, so that's something.
Yeah, that's way more than anybody would have gotten today.
That nonpartisan political group, Johnny, that was formed, that GI nonpartisan group, fell apart right off the bat as old political parties gained control again. They're like, we were like, we're nonpartisan, but then once people got elected, they're like, but I'm a Republican at heart, and I'm a Democrat at heart, and then quickly it fell apart.
But I kind of do lean to one direction. I kind of. Pipe use a line.
It all fell apart, and within one election cycle, the nonpartisan GI group is folded, and many of them that were in that non-party group were heard to have said, we replaced one evil with an even worse one. So, yay.
Well, I was going to say, at least they got rid of all the corruption, but...
Nope.
Wah, wah. That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we drag some old president's name through the mud.